When a billionaire's anger clouded the room, one incredible waitress revealed her hidden gift. The doors of Rosie's diner swung wide, and in stormed Edwin Castor, a billionaire tech mogul whose reputation for cruelty preceded him like a storm cloud. The frigid air he brought in was thick with his disdain, sending ripples of tension across the packed room. Diners froze mid-bite, eyes darting as whispers cascaded over the clanking dishes and sizzling griddles. This was no ordinary night at the diner. Among the chaos stood Lucy, a hard-working waitress who served everything from cups of black coffee to towering stacks of pancakes with a smile that could light up even the darkest corners of Chicago. Her heart, however, was filled with dreams beyond the clatter of plates. Each morning, she woke up before dawn, driven by the hope of giving her single mother a better life in their quiet Illinois town. But tonight, her usual rhythm was thrown into disarray. "Give me a coffee, and make it fast," Edwin barked, eyes scanning the room like a hawk. His booming voice rattled the porcelain mugs and sent the staff scrambling. Lucy took a deep breath, steadied herself, and walked toward him. "Coming right up, sir," she said with a calmness that belied her racing heart. The diner patrons watched, tension tightening in their throats as Lucy filled his cup, careful to keep her hands steady. Edwin's presence was overwhelming, yet Lucy refused to bow under the weight of it. "You know," she said, her voice cutting through the air, "not everyone here is your servant. We're hard workers trying to make a living." The murmurs rippled through the crowd, surprised, almost hopeful. Edwin narrowed his eyes, challenging her. "And what would you know of hard work? I'm building an empire, not serving coffee." A hush fell over the room. Every head turned toward Lucy, whose heart raced but held firm. "You may build empires," she replied, "but where I come from, we create family legacies, not just bank accounts." "Family legacies?" He scoffed, but something flickered behind his eyes, recognition mingling with irritation. Lucy pressed on. "I grew up in a small town. We are more than our bank balance." Each word was a thread weaving their stories, two fates colliding in that bustling diner. Before things could escalate, a moment of bravery ignited within her. She locked eyes with him, and without a thought, she began to sing a ballad about love and sacrifice. The room, once filled with tension, transformed with her rich voice. It swelled, carried by raw emotion and longing, wrapping the patrons in warmth. Edwin stilled, and for a heartbeat, everyone in the diner was enveloped in Lucy's world. Her hopes and struggles laid bare in the notes that danced through the air. The hard exterior of the billionaire began to crack, memories of forgotten dreams resurfacing in the depths of his heart. But just as the music reached its peak, Lucy's heart raced with uncertainty. Could he hear her? See her? Would this reach him? It was a moment of truth wrapped in melody. As she finished the last note, a charged silence hung in the air, punctuated only by the hushed gasps of the crowd. Edwin's expression shifted, vulnerability appearing momentarily in the corners of his hardened gaze. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." But just as that spark ignited the flames of hope, uncertainty battered the door of their connection. Would he allow this moment to transform him, or would he retreat to the comfort of his anger and haughtiness? As Lucy held his gaze, the air felt thick with unspoken promise. What would happen next in this crowded diner? Would Edwin embrace the warmth she offered, or sink back into the shadow of his empire? The diner buzzed with a slow, electric hum, the kind that happens right before a storm. Lucy's heart pounded as she stood there, holding her breath, waiting to see the flicker of change on Edwin's face. It was a fragile moment, a tightrope walk between hope and despair. Would she break through the icy walls that surrounded his heart, or would she remain just another fleeting moment in his chaotic life? Edwin dropped his gaze, the bitterness on his face easing into a mask of contemplation. He seemed lost in thought, his fingers playing absent-mindedly with the steaming mug in front of him. The atmosphere shifted, and for the first time since he stormed in, his menacing aura began to dissipate. Lucy took a cautious step closer, testing the waters. "Are you okay, sir?" He looked up, and in his piercing eyes, Lucy glimpsed a stormy past filled with shadows and unfulfilled dreams. For a brief moment, she felt an odd kinship with him, both of them trapped in their worlds, longing for something more. But while her dreams were woven with hope, his seemed almost suffocated by ambition. Edwin's voice broke the silence, softer now, almost vulnerable. "No one speaks to me like that," he said, a hint of respect weaving through his tone. "You're different." "Different doesn't always mean bad," Lucy replied, her own courage surprising her. "It can mean brave, capable, even honest." Her heart raced. There was a rhythm to their words now, a dance that felt more connected than before. He scrutinized her, pondering her words as the clattering of cutlery around them faded into the background. Several patrons, emboldened by Lucy's bravery, chattered among themselves, sharing glances that mingled between disbelief and admiration. Edwin finally cracked a small smile, not the smirk he'd worn before, but something vulnerable. "You really believe in those family legacies of yours, don't you?" "Yes," she said, her voice firm. "Family means everything to me. It's the foundation of who we are." She gestured to the diner buzzing with activity, her fellow workers and loyal customers forming a tapestry of community. "This place, these people, we support each other. It's what brings us all together." A flicker of emotion crossed Edwin's face, something softer than anger, and Lucy felt a glimmer of hope rise within her. Could he truly begin to grasp what she was offering? Their moment was abruptly interrupted by the squeak of the diner's door swinging open. Sarah, one of Lucy's co-workers, bustled in, her arms filled with fresh supplies. Noticing the electric atmosphere, she stopped and eyed Edwin with a mix of wariness and curiosity. "Whoa, what's going on?" Sarah asked, shifting her weight nervously. "Just a chat about family legacies," Lucy said with a smile, trying to keep the mood light. Edwin straightened, brushing off the tension he'd carried in. "I suppose even billionaires need to learn a thing or two about community," he responded, his voice steadier now. Lucy bit back a grin. It's never too late to learn. But even as she said it, doubt flickered in her mind. Would he truly open up, or would he retreat again? The thought sent a shiver through her, but she stood her ground, willing to take the risk for the hope of a connection. As Edwin contemplated her words, something shifted in the room again. The patrons held their breath, waiting for his response. Lucy's heart was a drum, beating as she tightened her grip around the edge of the counter. Everyone was watching to see if the billionaire would react, and in this moment, the weight of their expectations hung heavy. Then Edwin leaned in, eyes locked on Lucy with an intensity that sent a chill down her spine. Maybe it's time I actually listened." But just when it seemed that a breakthrough was within reach, the bell above the door chimed again, heralding a new arrival that could change everything. The door swung open wider, bringing a gust of cold air with it. In stepped a figure dressed in a long, dark coat, his presence commanding enough to draw the eyes of every patron in the diner. It was Michael, Edwin's younger brother, and instantly the atmosphere shifted once more, the tentative connection between Lucy and Edwin teetering on the edge. Michael exuded a confidence that bordered on arrogance, his dark hair slicked back and his eyes glinting with mischief. He strode into the diner like he owned the place, which, in many ways, he probably did. The patrons immediately lowered their voices, sensing the tension radiating from Edwin. The warmth that Lucy had been nurturing might just extinguish under Michael's looming shadow. "Edwin, I've been looking everywhere for you," Michael called out, his voice dripping with false cheer. He glanced at Lucy, a smirk playing on his lips. "And who asked this? Your new therapist?" Edwin stiffened, the warmth in his eyes evaporating in an instant. Lucy felt the shift. She bristled at the insult, but a deeper concern bubbled up inside her. Was this the moment that would define Edwin's choice to open up? "Leave her out of this, Michael," Edwin snapped, his voice sharp enough to slice through the heavy tension in the room. There was a fire in his words that surprised Lucy, a determination that hinted at the vulnerability he had just begun to show. "Oh, is Big Brother finally showing a softer side?" Michael taunted, crossing his arms as he leaned against the counter. "I thought we agreed. Emotions are a weakness, remember? especially in the business world. Lucy felt her heart sink, but she stood rooted to the spot, unwilling to let this moment slip away. Emotions aren't a weakness, she interjected, stepping toward Edwin, her conviction steady. If anything, they are what make us human and successful. The diner fell silent, the weight of Lucy's words hanging in the air like storm clouds. Michael raised an eyebrow, intrigued yet skeptical. He was much like Edwin, accustomed to walls built from ambition and bravado. But then, with a slight tilt of his head, he acknowledged her with an unexpected depth. "And what exactly do you know about success?" he challenged. Lucy took a deep breath. "I know it's about connection. It's about community and helping each other grow." She turned her gaze back to Edwin, who had gone quiet, tension thrumming like a taut wire between them. "That's what this diner stands for. That's what builds legacies." Edwin's eyes flickered with a mixture of anger and contemplation, caught between his past and the possibility of a future he had yet to explore. But at that moment, it felt like Lucy's words held the power to break the chains that bound him. Michael, however, wasn't he finished. He advanced a step. "And you think a waitress in a diner can teach my brother anything about business or family? Come on, let us be real." Something inside Lucy sparked. She wasn't just a waitress. She was someone who understood the value of laughter shared over greasy pancakes, of hands resting on the shoulders of friends in need. "I believe that strength comes from embracing our stories, our failures, our joys." The eyes of the diner patrons drifted between the three of them, captivated by the unexpected confrontation. Edwin's jaw clenched, and for one brief second, Lucy thought she might lose him to the coldness that often defined his world. But then she noticed a flicker of acknowledgement crossed Edwin's face, as if he were wrestling with the different identities he wore and the one Lucy was urging him to claim. "Listen," he began, but Michael interrupted, his incredulity almost comical. "Are you really going to take life advice from a waitress, Edwin?" He scoffed, but the challenge in Edwin's eyes silenced him for a moment. Lucy held Edwin's gaze, a silent plea simmering beneath her surface. In that brief moment, she wondered, could their connection withstand the storm Michael had just unleashed? Before Edwin could respond, the front door swung open again. A familiar face appeared, one that signaled trouble in the form of an old rival of Edwin's. The mood shifted yet again, and Lucy felt the weight of the moment shift dangerously. Would Edwin retreat into the shadows once more? Or would Lucy's words be enough to draw him back into the light? As the door closed with a click, she knew the answer awaited them both. The air crackled with new tension as the newcomer stepped inside. Lucas Hale. Against the backdrop of the small diner, he appeared larger than life, his tailored blazer hugging his broad shoulders, a confident grin spread wide across his chiseled jaw. He was a former colleague of Edwin's, a man who had made headlines for all the wrong reasons after a twist of corporate sabotage sent Edwin's career into a tailspin years ago. Every patron in the diner seemed to hold their breath. Lucy felt it too, the sudden chill that enveloped her despite the warmth of the coffee brewing behind the counter. Lucas scanned the diner, his eyes landing on Edwin. A moment of silence stretched painfully before the words broke free. "Edwin, fancy seeing you in a place like this," Lucas said, his voice smooth but dripping with sarcasm. "I thought you'd have traded up for something a little more upscale." Edwin's jaw tightened, and the spark of anger ignited in his eyes. This was the last reunion he wanted. "What do you want, Lucas?" Edwin replied, his tone low and controlled, masking the storm beneath. "I just came to check in on some old friends," Lucas replied, shrugging casually. "Besides, I heard the special here is to die for. Figured it'd be nice to catch up, over a cup of coffee." He glanced at Lucy then, sizing her up with a dismissive smirk. "Though it's not really my usual tempo." Lucy's stomach nodded, recognizing that Michael had used his jabs against Edwin to stir the pot, and now Lucas appeared to sharpen the blade. She stepped forward, her heart racing. "It's more than just coffee," she shot back, feeling the weight of all the diner's gazes upon her. It was a fierce defense of her world, of the warmth and community they built in this little diner. "It's about connections. Something you might not understand." Lucas laughed, a mocking sound that only spurred Edwin further. "See, Edwin, this is what happens when you get cozy in mediocrity. She thinks she can teach you about life over a piece of pie." Edwin flinched, the reminder of their shared past bitter on his tongue. But Lucy, sensing the impending collapse between the brothers and their rival, refused to back down. "Edwin, listen, don't let them define you," she urged, glancing at him with fierce determination. "Maybe it's time you stop hiding behind your family legacy, don't you think?" Lucas continued, festering Edwin's wound. "You could have been a contender, Edwin. Instead, you spend your days in a greasy diner, playing house with your new friend here." With every word, Edwin's expression shifted, flickering between anger, shame, and regret. The weight of expectations pressed heavily on him, yet Lucy could see beneath the layers of armor he wore. She took a deep breath, realizing this was their moment, a chance to show Edwin that retreating into silence wouldn't heal the scars left by Lucas or Michael. "People define their own success, not the other way around," she said with raw confidence. "You were made for so much more than being shackled to a past that doesn't define you." Edwin met her gaze, the heat in the room pulsing. For a brief second, clarity shone through the storm within him. But just as hope flickered to life, a cold smile danced across Lucas's face. "Oh, please," he said, rolling his eyes. "What a cliché. Let me show you something more exciting than this little soap opera." As he reached into his pocket, time seemed to pause. Lucy's pulse quickened, dread pooled in her stomach. What could he possibly pull out next to taunt Edwin again? It felt like a turning point, a culmination of unresolved hurt, and a challenge that would either bind them closer or shatter them anew. Whatever Lucas brought into the circle, Lucy braced herself, ready to protect Edwin if it came to it. But just how far Lucas was willing to go to claim the upper hand was still an open question. Would it push Edwin back into the darkness, or would it awaken something long buried and powerful within him? The answer hovered unspoken, as charged and potent as the air around them. Lucas unfolded a crisp envelope, and the diner collectively inhaled, the air thick with anticipation. He glanced at Edwin, his voice oozing with delight. "Here's a little reminder of what you're missing." With a flick of his wrist, he tossed the envelope onto the table. Edwin's heart raced as he reached for it, fingers trembling slightly. The moment hung in the balance, and Lucy felt her own breath catch. She hadn't seen what was inside, but the way Lucas's smile turned predatory told her it could only be bad news. "Go on, don't keep us in suspense, Edwin," Lucas urged, leaning in, his confidence spilling over like a tipped glass. "I know you'll get a kick out of this." With a defiant look, Edwin ripped the envelope open. He pulled out a glossy promotional flyer, the kind you see plastered in high-end neighborhoods. Grand opening of Hale Industries' newest luxury complex. The description boasted every amenity imaginable, perfectly polished and towering over the skyline like a gleaming testament to ambition and success. Along the bottom, in bold letters, were words that twisted Edwin's gut. "Cash flow projections show we're set to dominate the market once again." Edwin's knuckles whitened as he gripped the flyer. It was a reminder of everything he'd lost, everything Lucas had taken from him. His voice shook, barely above a whisper. "You think this is funny?" "It's hilarious," Lucas said, feigning innocence. "You could have had all of this, Edwin. Instead, look where you are." He waved a dismissive hand around the diner, full of cozy charm, but starkly different from the world they had once inhabited together. Lucy stepped closer to Edwin, her heart aching for him. "This doesn't define you," she said firmly, her eyes locking with his. "Success isn't always about wealth or fancy buildings. It's about who you choose to be every day." But the hurt in Edwin's eyes lingered, wrestling with an inner dialogue that resurfaced like an unwelcome ghost. Lucas had a way of chiseling away at Edwin's confidence, exposing all the vulnerabilities that lay dormant beneath the surface. "Did you come all this way just to gloat, Lucas?" Edwin asked, trying to steady himself. "Is that what your life has become? Laughing at people you used to call friends?" Lucas's smile faded slightly, revealing a flicker of irritation. "Come on, Edwin. You and I both know that this is just how the world works. Adapt or get left behind. Maybe you should take notes." Lucy could feel the air electric between them. "You didn't adapt," she said, aiming for clarity. "You hurt people to get what you wanted. That is not success. That is cowardice." Lucas's eyes narrowed, but Edwin's lips began to twitch with the ghost of a smile. Something shifted deep within him. He straightened his back slightly, the remnants of his former self starting to surface. Maybe it was Lucy's words, or the sheer audacity of Lucas's presence. Either way, the fire was flickering back to life. "Look at you," Lucas scoffed, spouting off the same old platitudes. "It's no wonder you're still here, drowning in mediocrity." "Enough," Edwin shouted, the voice he once had breaking through the noise. The diner fell silent again, all eyes on him. "You don't get to dictate my existence any longer, Lucas. You're not a king. You're just a man who will fall if you build your throne too high." The confrontation hung in the air, a fierce tension blooming between Edwin and Lucas. Lucy sensed that this was at the moment to choose between light and dark. Just then, the door to the diner flung open, and a commotion outside drew everyone's attention. Shadows shifted in the doorway as a group of angry voices mingled with a sharp clatter. "Edwin, what is happening?" Lucy asked, panic rising in her throat, but her heart was buoyed by renewed hope. Could Edwin defy Lucas? Could he rise above this moment? As Edwin stepped forward to see outside, Lucas grabbed his arm, their eyes locking. "Don't think this is over," he hissed. But Lucy felt an energy crackle, an unyielding spirit emerging within Edwin. She stepped up beside him, standing as a solid wall of support. What could possibly come next? Lucas challenged, determination twisting his features as twilight settled in outside. Edwin opened his mouth, ready to respond. But it was the sound of commotion outside that caught their attention, and the tension shifted once again. What awaited them beyond the doors? And could it push Edwin one step further into reclaiming not just his past, but his future? A loud crash echoed through the diner, scattering dishes and sending a collective gasp through the patrons. Edwin felt the pull of that sound, the pulse of urgency in his veins. He glanced at Lucy, her eyes wide, reflecting the same curiosity and dread swirling in his own stomach. "Stay here," he said, his voice firm as he peeled away from Lucas's grip. The warmth of Lucy's presence felt like a lifeline. Just knowing she stood there gave him the strength he needed to face whatever chaos loomed outside. Edwin limped toward the entrance, as the din of raised voices grew louder. Shadows danced on the frosted glass pane of the door, and he recognized the distinct silhouettes of several familiar faces from the neighborhood. They looked agitated, hands gesturing wildly. "Hey, what is going on?" Edwin called, his tone a mix of command and concern. The group turned toward him, surprise mingling with their anger. "Edwin!" shouted Tara, a local business owner. Her face flushed with fervor, she stepped forward. "We need your help." "What happened?" he asked, heart pounding. "It's Lucas," Tara continued, her voice rising as she spoke. "He's trying to push us out. We got word that he's planning to buy out the entire block, demolishing our shops to build his luxury complex." A murmur of agreement rippled through the group, angry nods and sharp words mixing together. Edwin felt the weight of their fear, their frustration, pressing down on him like a heavy blanket. But with it came something else, a flicker of resolve igniting inside him. "Is that true?" he shouted back toward Lucas, who now leaned casually against the counter, his face a mask of indifference. "Maybe. Maybe not," Lucas replied, smirking. "But is it my fault you all cling to this dilapidated block like it's some sort of treasure? The world moves on, Edwin. You should have learned that by now." Edwin's heart burned with fury. "You're stealing the dreams of people who built this place, Lucas. You think business is just about money? It's about people too." Around him, the diners in the corner whispered, some even nodding in agreement. Lucy's hand found his arm, her silent support filling him with unshakable confidence. "Let us do something," she said fiercely, catching his eye. "Let us show him we won't go down without a fight." The words hung in the air like an invitation. Edwin felt the pulse of his past ambitions surge within him, tinged with the urgency of this moment. Years spent under Lucas's shadow had weakened him, but those days were over. "All right," he exclaimed. "If we're going to fight, we do it together. We're not letting anyone bulldoze our community. We'll gather everyone we can, create a plan. We'll show him what this place means to us." Cheers erupted from the crowd, hope flooding back into their expressions. Edwin felt alive. They had a chance to stand against the tide, to reclaim what Lucas sought to steal. Lucas's expression shifted, a flash of annoyance cutting through his bravado. "You can't win, Edwin. You're just one man. Maybe, Edwin replied, voice steady. But I'm not fighting alone. Lucy grinned, her eyes sparkling with determination. And as Edwin rallied the small assembly, drawing upon the strength of those around him, he realized something profound. They were all in this together. And just as hope began to swell, the diner door swung open again, this time ushering in an unexpected figure with a mess of dark curls and a determined stride. It was the waitress, Vanessa, her apron still stained with the remnants of lunch. Sorry I'm late, she declared, breathless yet defiant. I heard about the trouble, and I think I can help. Just let me show you what I can do. Edwin exchanged glances with Lucy and the others, uncertainty creeping in. What could she possibly bring to this battle? But under the hum of adrenaline and the promise of change, he felt a reluctant curiosity. Who was she, really, and could her hidden talents change everything? As Vanessa approached, confidence shining in her demeanor, Edwin wondered if this small-town diner held more surprises than he ever realized. The chatter of the diner faded into an uneasy hush as Vanessa stepped forward. There was something electric in the air, a mix of hope and disbelief. Edwin watched her, eyes narrowed, searching for any indication of what she was about to say. Look, she began, her voice steady despite the cacophony of emotions. I may not have the experience in high-stakes deals like Lucas, but I know this community. I know its heartbeat, and I've got ideas. Edwin registered the ripple of intrigue through the crowd. Rats were gathering in the corner, listening closely. Even Lucas straightened up, his expression shifting to one of cautious interest. What do you mean? Tara pressed, her hands still curled into tight fists. Vanessa took a deep breath, driven by an inner urgency. We need to organize. I think we can throw an event. You all know the block better than anyone. We can showcase our shops and what they mean to the community. We create a buzz, a festival. Edwin felt a spark of possibility ignite within him. A festival? Lucy echoed, her eyes lighting up. That could work. Bring everyone together. Invite neighbors and families. Exactly. Vanessa interjected, her enthusiasm growing as she leaned into their support. Let us invite artists, food vendors, musicians. We'll show Lucas what this place truly means, not just in dollars and cents, but in memories and dreams. But how will we get the funding? Tara asked, skeptical but intrigued. Edwin stepped up, feeling a wave of determination. I can reach out to local businesses. They'll want to help us too. Plus, we can take donations, spread the word across social media. People want to support the heart of our town. The murmurs of approval began again, first in a hesitant flow, then building into a chorus of excitement. This felt tangible, planning something substantial that could stand against Lucas's threats. Vanessa's eyes sparkled with determination. We'll set up committees. Someone for logistics, another to contact vendors, and a team for marketing. I can handle the social media outreach. Edwin nodded, feeling the swell of teamwork forming around him. Let us meet tomorrow morning at the diner, he suggested. Bring ideas, gather your friends. We'll turn this into a movement. A ripple of anticipation filled the air. Edwin looked at Lucy. She smiled back, her faith in him solid and unwavering. This was what he needed, the we, not just me. Across the room, Lucas's lips curled in a smirk, but Edwin could see the tension in his jaw. You think a cute little festival is going to save your precious block? You're playing desperate. It's not just a festival. Edwin's voice cut through the air resolutely. It's our stand. If you think we'll roll over, you're wrong. There was weight behind his words. He could feel the shift around him, the surge of spirit, of resilience. As the diner began to buzz with planning and forging roles, Edwin noticed Vanessa step back momentarily, an odd look crossing her face. Just then, the front door swung open again, this time not a figure, but a pair of shadows, two men clad in dark suits who strode forward, their presence commanding. Edwin, one of them began, their tone firm yet measured. We need to have a serious talk about your plans. Lucas sent us. Edwin felt a chill run down his spine. His heart raced. Were they here to intimidate him? To shut down their spark before it could ignite? He glanced at Lucy, her brow furrowed in concern, and then back at his friends rallying around. We're not backing down, he said, almost breathless. His thoughts raced. But what if they have a more powerful argument? What could they really do? With every meeting planned, the battle was looming larger. He took a deep breath, ready to face whatever threats lay ahead. The moment had come to brace for a fight for their home, their stories, and their community. But deep within, a voice whispered a question lingering, as heavy as the dining room air. Could they truly stand strong against the storm? And as the towering figures of the suits approached, would their fight ultimately end in hope or despair? The silence hung thick in the diner, tension curling around tables like smoke. Edwin's heart hammered in his chest as he found himself staring into the eyes of the two men. They were imposing, their suits sharp and tailored, contrasting starkly with the worn aesthetics of the diner. Determination flickered in Edwin's chest, a small flame against the deluge of doubt swirling inside him. "Lucas sent us to discuss your little festival," the taller one said, his voice deep and unwavering. "He is not interested in problems. He prefers solutions that suit his timeline." Edwin took a step forward, channeling every ounce of conviction he could muster. "Our community is not a problem. We're not looking for a solution from him," Edwin retorted, conviction lacing his words. The crowd behind him stirred, buoyed by his defiance. The men shared a fleeting glance, one that spoke volumes. Edwin recognized it, a calculated dismissal, a flicker of amusement at their little uprising. "You'll see. You're wasting your time and energy," the shorter man warned, his smirk cruel. Vanessa broke in, her voice steady and filled with passion. "You don't understand what we're building here. This isn't just about the festival, it's about our community coming together." One of the men leaned closer, eyes narrowing. "Do you really think the town cares enough to save it? They want to fight for what you can't protect. Lucas doesn't lose." Each word was a heavy stone, crashing into Edwin's resolve. Every eye in the diner was on him, waiting for a flicker of confidence in the face of intimidation. But just as he felt himself wavering, he caught Lucy's gaze, a small smile lingering on her lips, her eyes bright with belief. "We aren't going anywhere," he said, stealing his voice. "And if you think your threats can stop us, you're mistaken." The men's smirks faltered for a moment, caught off guard by Edwin's fierce resolve. An invisible line had been drawn, and the stakes rose higher. The murmurings in the diner grew louder, like a swell rising with the tide, gathering momentum. Edwin felt it, the gathered strength of their community pushing behind him. Lucy, however, wasn't idle in her silence. She interjected, her voice light yet firm. "Have you ever walked these streets? Talked to the people? This is their home, just as much as yours or Lucas's. We're not just going to hand it over because you say so." The men exchanged glances, clearly uneasy now. The very atmosphere shifted, a ripple of defiance surging through the diner. Faces turned, eyes lit up, and shoulders straightened. Edwin could feel the air pulse with newfound strength. "The festival will showcase what we are and what we can be. It'll show Lucas that we fight for our home," Edwin declared, heart racing, remembering his promise to his friends. But the moment didn't last. The tall man stepped back, a dark cloud settling over his features. "You're playing with fire. Lucas has resources that you can't even begin to imagine. It's a war you don't want to start." And with that, he nodded slightly to his companion, and they turned to leave, but not before the shorter man spat one final utterance. "You'll regret this." As the door swung shut behind them, the diner erupted with murmurs. Everyone was speaking at once, a mixture of fear and exhilaration washing over the crowd. Edwin felt a wave of adrenaline course through him. He stood there, pulse racing, hearing the chatter around him swell into something hopeful. But beneath the surface, uncertainty festered. Would what they started even be enough? Then a soft, shaky voice broke through the noise. It was Tara, her hands still curled into fists, but now trembling with restrained excitement. "What if we find a surprise performer? Someone really special? Something to draw in the crowds?" Everyone's eyes turned on her as she continued. "I know a woman at the local community center who has a gift of voice like no other. What if we could get her to headline the festival?" Edwin felt a surge of possibility, but doubt flickered at the edges of his mind. Could a single voice be the beacon they needed? And just then, a thought struck him. What other surprises could they unveil? With every layer peeled back, could their community reveal rewards beyond anything Lucas could ever provide? Would the festival not only save the block, but also inspire a unity that could withstand whatever storm Lucas brewed next? The flicker of hope transformed into a flame. urging him forward into the unknown. What would it take to unite them all under a single banner, a force powerful enough to stand up against Lucas? The battle was just beginning, and the stakes were higher than ever. A deep breath escaped Edwin's lips as he looked around the diner. The conversation had shifted from fear to excitement, the atmosphere buzzing with energy. He caught Vanessa's eye, and there was a glimmer of hope reflected in her gaze. "What if we turn this into something more than just a festival?" she suggested, her enthusiasm infectious. "Let us showcase everyone's talents. Let us show Lucas who we really are. Do you think we can really pull this off?" Tara asked, her earlier wild idea now taking hold in her mind. The light in her eyes spoke volumes, as if she had finally unlocked a door to something amazing. "Why not?" Edwin shot back, feeling a swell of determination rise within him. "We've got artists, dancers, cooks, people who love this town. We make it a celebration of everything we stand for. Let us make a list of who we could ask," Lucy chimed in, her voice rising above the cacophony of conversations. The diner's vibe was shifting, like a spark trying to ignite a flame. They jumped into action. Edwin grabbed a pencil and paper from the counter. Names flew around the room, each one sparking memories of local talents and stories that had shaped their community. He scribbled furiously as faces turned from uncertainty to hope. As they wrote, the diner buzzed with murmurs. Clinks of coffee mugs filled the air. There was laughter again, the kind that felt like rain after a long drought. Edwin felt invincible. They were no longer just a group of individuals, they were a force. "Wait, what about that painter? The one who does those murals downtown?" Vanessa asked. The name slipped into the mix like a fresh breath of air. She could add a visual element. "Definitely. What's better than art to represent us?" Edwin replied, grinning ear to ear. Moments turned into hours as the ideas blossomed. Each name mentioned seemed to weave them tighter. Tara, with her shaky hands turned steady, shared the idea of a talent showcase to support and rally their community in this fight. The chatter shifted to who would volunteer as an MC. There were jokes and giggles, glimmers of sunlight breaking through the clouds of worry that had loomed just moments before. Yet amidst the excitement, a nagging fear lingered at the back of Edwin's mind. Would Lucas retaliate? Would this newfound hope be squashed like a bug? Before he could spiral into that dark thought, a voice burst through the din. It was Mary, the waitress with a twinkle in her eye. "I've been thinking, what if I sing for the festival?" Everyone turned to look at her, startled. There had always been something special about Mary, but she'd always kept it hidden, opting for her humble serving duties over the spotlight. "Are you serious?" Lucy's jaw dropped, and Tara clapped her hands. "You've got to." Mary nodded, the color rising to her cheeks. "Yeah, I mean, why not? We have to show Lucas our spirit. What if I sang that song about home? It makes people feel connected." The suggestion floated in the air, hanging like the scent of fresh pastries. That song, so familiar to everyone, could weave their stories together. Edwin felt a rush of admiration for her courage. "What if we all come together and perform that song?" Edwin contemplated, his heart pounding with renewed vigor. A flash mob. Picture it. People from every corner of the town singing as one. Just then, a few other familiar faces stood, shout out in agreement. Old friends who had once cherished the bonds of community now began to rally back together, ignited by the idea that they, too, could be strong. Edwin's heart soared. This was more than a festival, it was becoming a movement. But then, a shadow flickered across the diner as the door swung open again. Edwin's heart sank as he recognized the unmistakable figure looming at the entrance. It was Lucas. The air felt thick with anticipation as their eyes locked. Edwin's confidence wavered momentarily, but he pushed it back down, reminding himself of the fire that had ignited in the room. Lucas's expression was unreadable. Would he try to dismantle everything they had begun to build in that diner? The thrill of potential mixed with the weight of dread. What would Lucas' next move be? Would they stand their ground, or would they have to brace for an even bigger fight? Lucas sauntered into the diner, the door swinging shut behind him like a clap of thunder. Edwin felt the weight of his presence settle, a chill creeping through the warm buzz that had just filled the space. "What's this?" Lucas drawled, his voice smooth but laced with derision. "A little game of community pride? How quaint." The camaraderie that had just sparked among the patrons flickered like a candle under a gust of wind. Edwin stood tall, squaring his shoulders. We're not backing down, Lucas. This community has a voice, and we're ready to use it. Oh please, Lucas shot back, chuckling lightly, but it rang hollow. You really think a talent show or some community event can compete with money and power? This is a business game, not a school fair. With every word, Edwin felt the scorn wash over him, fueling the fire in his gut. But behind him, he sensed the support of his friends, their eyes bright with determination, their hearts filled with hope. It's not just about money, Lucy interjected, stepping beside Edwin, her voice firm. It's about connection, spirit, and what this town represents for all of us. Edwin glanced at her, their eyes locking in mutual understanding. They wouldn't let Lucas's arrogance crush their dreams. He could feel the whispers of the crowd rallying behind them, building volume like a swell rising with the tide. Connection, huh? Lucas mused, stepping closer, his tone mocking. Tell me, how many of your community members would really stand up for you if it came down to it? Edwin swallowed hard, but he held his ground. They would stand for each other, just as I stand for them. We've seen the struggles, we've lived them. This isn't just a fight for a block, it's a fight for our identity. You think they care enough about your little diner? Lucas sneered. You're only as good as your last meal service. As he spoke, Edwin saw a tap of uncertainty ripple through the crowd, but Lucy stepped forward, raising her chin defiantly. That's where you're wrong. We're more than just plates and coffee. We are stories, laughter, and memories. We're family. That can't be bought or bulldozed. The silence that followed bore the weight of something profound. Lucas's smirk tightened, indicating that perhaps, just perhaps, his confidence was starting to crack. So what is the plan? He asked, crossing his arms, a nagging curiosity creeping into his tone. What? Are you going to sing your way to success? Throw a parade? Bring in the marching band? Edwin's heart raced, confidence swelling to overflow. Actually, yes. We're going to bring every talent this community holds and showcase it to the entire town. We're going to show them just how valuable this place really is. The diner erupted with excitement, and Edwin felt the surge of energy rally around him. People talked over each other, brainstorming ideas for the festival, everything from art showcases to food stalls, from improvisational comedy to performance art. Lucas's brow furrowed. And you think that will make enough noise to stop what I have planned? Do you honestly think it'll change anything? With renewed determination, Edwin locked eyes with Lucas. More than you know. This isn't about us versus you. This is about preserving something real against artificial greed. You might have the money, but we have the heart. And heart doesn't pay the bills. Lucas spat back, although impatience underscored his bravado. Maybe not directly, Lucy replied, her voice cutting through the tension like a hot knife. But heart builds something far more enduring than you understand: trust, loyalty, unity. Our festival is about igniting that flame, and it will light a path. For a moment, Edwin thought he saw something shift in Lucas's expression, a tiny crack in his facade. But it vanished just as quickly as it appeared. Be careful, Lucas warned, his tone darkening. This is just the beginning. I can assure you, I want to play fair. But Edwin didn't flinch. He could feel the warmth of his friend's support enveloping him. Then we'll be ready, he replied, every word steady and unwavering. As Lucas spun on his heel and stormed out, the very air in the diner transformed. There was no longer fear lingering in the corners. Only resolve blossomed like wildflowers breaking through cement. Edwin turned to his friends, gratitude blooming in his chest. We've got this, he said, voice firm. Let us gather our ideas and meet early tomorrow. This isn't just about fighting back. It's about igniting what makes this place special. They nodded, energy returning to their spirits. They joined voices in laughter and excitement, exhilaration bubbling over as plans were laid. Edwin felt a mix of adrenaline and hope surge within him. In that moment, as the diner buzzed with a renewed sense of purpose, he realized this was the turning point. They were not just fighting for a block. They were breathing life into their community's legacy. On that night, Edwin knew deep within that they could reclaim their future. As the night wore on, Edwin's heart soared with gratitude and determination. He turned to Lucy, who smiled back at him with every bit of warmth he had seen that first night in the diner. Together, they could face whatever may come. And as the diner lights dimmed, a soft buzz of hope lingered, a thrilling promise that tomorrow would bring new beginnings. Now, more than ever, they were ready to rise and shine. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait, not even one more second to share.